Do you remember going to your aunt's place for dinner? The first thing you noticed was the beautiful embroidered tablecloth. It really enhanced the place setting. My name is Aurele de Brosse, and I would like to teach you all the things that you will need to do this beautiful embroidery. So, let's get on with it. Let's learn to embroider. So, now let's do embroidery. We will need some linen and cotton threads, many different colors, or just a plain white or a plain color like black. If you're going to do a tablecloth in 2 or 3 colors, or maybe just one color, I can show you this tablecloth here that I've done, which is a white tablecloth, and I'm using the Jacobean patterns, which has about 7 different blues. It's one of the English patterns from the 17th century, and it's called Jacobean. You see that in many different pottery patterns and Old English canvas patterns. What I want to do is teach you how to do embroidery, and what we need is some embroidery needles. The embroidery needles come in many different lengths, but have a very small head. I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but the thread head is very tiny. The needles are very long, slim, and very pointy. You thread your needle. To thread a needle, it's very easy. You fold it in half, squeeze between your finger, pull it tight with your needle, and thread it through. Okay, we thread our needle. Now let's start doing some embroidery. First, what I needed was a hoop, and I put my hoop. I have 2 pieces to this hoop. I have the bottom and the top. The bottom part, and feed it through, and you squeeze the top part over the bottom. Keep your material very tight. Now, when you start embroidery, you never make a knot at the end of your threads. What you got to do is start a few spaces from the end, thread your needle through, and bring the end of your thread into the center. Pick a little, just a small little stitch, and what you do is you lock in your thread. Now you can go back. What I'm doing is I'm just doing a satin stitch. This is all a satin stitch. All this work requires about the same stitch. I'm going next to the same stitch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down beside the green and start there, right at my line, and then I'm going to do this part. Start from beside the other part and keep doing it. What I did was I have 2 strands of cotton, and I've made sure that my strands are together. So what I'm doing is I'm just from one blue line to the other blue line, I'm doing a satin stitch. That's why you need a very thin needle, very pointy, small head, so you don't hook. It's easy to go through. This is called a satin stitch. There's a variety of stitches in embroidery, but usually there's about, I'd say about 3 or 4 that you would normally use, but most of the time you will do always a satin stitch. What you're doing is we could do this by hand, or today we can use a machine to do it. So doing the satin stitch, it's very easy. All you're doing is you're filling in with a different color and using a pattern, either a flower or like on the tablecloth I have on the table, which is the Jacobean pattern. Jacobean pattern, again, it's a very 17th century pattern, and it's very artistic. It's an original. Most of the flowers are always done the same way. You've got satin stitch, you've got the long stitch. Our next stitch, what I want to do is the long stitch. So now let's change color, and let's go to another color, and we're going to do the long stitch. Now I want to explain the colors, the cotton that you buy for embroidery. Usually the colors, I'm going to take this, the blue, usually comes in a 6-strand cotton. And when you're doing embroidery, you have to split this up. You either use 3 or 2 strands of cotton. I'm going to use 2 on the yellow, and I'm going to double it to make it look, instead of using 4 strands, I'm just going to use 2 strands, but doubling my long stitch. I'm going to put my finger underneath. You control, when you put your needle, you have to have your finger underneath your work, and you push up your needle with your finger under your canvas. So again, to start, I've got yellow. I'm going to do the outline of my petals in yellow. First, like I said, you put in your thread, you do a couple of stitches, pins through. Now I'm going to pull through, see what the long part of yellow. Now I'm going to lock that in. So in other words, do a small, pull it through, and you lock in your thread. There's no knots. You never make knots in your work unless it has a special knot that design. Otherwise, never start and finish with a knot, because knots come apart in your laundry. So what I'm going to do is the long stitch. And what I'm doing is I'm just going around doing the contour of the petals on this flower. This is called a long stitch. Turn my work around. Turn it around. I'm going past the end and going up, halfway up in between. Long, halfway up. If I can explain, the canvas is a cotton canvas. This is a printed pattern. And when you wash this garment, this blue disappears. So all you have left is the colored yarn. Now I'm going to do one more stitch and finish with my last one. Now, instead of doing the other ones, what I'm going to explain is how to finish your stitch. What you're going to do is you do a couple stitches, you go up, you weave through the material, the stitches you've done, you pull it through and cut it, and it's locked in. Now that we've finished the yellow part, which is, I explained the long stitch, Now we're going to do the daisy stitch. And I'm going to use the daisy on the daisy stitch. I'm going to show you another way of threading your yarn. Underneath the green, I'm going to go through the green and come out at the edge. I'm coming out at the edge and pulling and leaving the tip under the green. Then I'm going to lock my thread by just doing a small little stitch, just threading the needle just underneath a few pieces of cotton and pulling it through. Oh, it came out. Got to re-thread it again. Sometimes you got to go two or three tries. There's right underneath. So, a small stitch. And see, now it's locked. So now I want to do the daisy. You have the piece of thread. I'm going back to where I was, push the needle under, and just a little, about 4 strands of the canvas, I put needle underneath the canvas and I'm pulling it through, and you're going to see there. The cotton is around and my stitch is under. And all I'm going to do is thread it, push it through, pull the cotton. It's a daisy, so I'm doing the daisy pattern around. And now with this, I'm going to try to keep my little loops the same size. In embroidery, that's the technique, is try to, as you're doing experience, you're going to do your knots or your pattern always the same size. That's going, if I keep going around and around and around, it'll be a beautiful little pattern called daisy pattern on a daisy. So now we've finished this. Now I'd like to show you the cross stitch pattern. The cross stitch pattern, this is again all the yarn I have to do. I want to show you the pattern on this little, it's a sampler. It's got all the alphabets on it, and usually you'll have the numbers, but not on this one. It's a little pattern, a little house, and it's all cross stitch. So I've started already. I've got my hoop on. Now, if you buy a hoop, hoops come in many sizes. Some are very small, about 2-3 inches or 10 centimeters in diameter, and they can go up. And the thickness, like I have another one here, it's pretty thick. It's for very heavy material. And there's a little screw on the side to tighten them up, to fit in your canvas. So this one is a metal hoop. A while ago I had a wooden hoop. Woodens are much better. I prefer the wooden than the metal. Sometimes if you look in the stores, metals are still around, but not very much. Now the cross stitch, this is very, very traditional. You have a lot of patterns on cross stitch. If the camera can pick this up, all my blue little crosses, all you have to do is you follow the crosses, but it's a little hard to follow because you're trying to go in somewhere and keep going and not go up and down because you've got a little corner here, and what you're trying to do is prevent those long stitches in the back. If I turn my work around, you're trying to take a shortcut in the back and not to have very long stitches. Okay, it's try to keep it as neat as possible. If a person looks at your pattern what you're going to do is you're going to, a connoisseur, a person who knows a lot about different things like this, what they're going to do is they're going to flip your material over and look in the back to see how neat your work is. That is an expert. That's what you're going to, the experts always look for this, how neat your bag is. Because you don't have, you don't want all these long threads because usually they hook and they tear out your material. So I have all these little pieces together, and in the back you can follow all these lines. Okay, so now let's continue on this, just doing a few cross stitch. You start right on the corner, okay, and the cross is diagonal right here. Then what I do is I try to find the nearest X and come through. What I do is I'm doing one and preparing myself for another. Okay? Do one corner. To the other corner. Okay, now I'm closing that X. Going to the other X. Okay, and coming back. Sometimes you have to come in and out in the same corner twice. So I've done 2 X's at the same time. That's all you have to do is keep doing those little crosses. This is a cross stitch. So let's try one more little cross is in the corner, out the other corner. What you're trying to do is make 2 at the same time. Always 2 X's. I'm going over here in the opposite corner. Okay. Then back here. And I'm ready to go to the next following cross. Okay? And if I do this, go in here, and I'm going to go down, come back up, because over here there's 4 X's, so, and then back in the corner. If there's 4 X's, I'll go crisscross and always come out 4 times right in the center. I'm in the wrong spot. I have to go back. Okay, there. Let's try. Now I'm going to cross that X. Back over here. 1 X. Back in the center. Come out the opposite side to do this X. See, I've done this X. I'm halfway there. Back in the center. There. So now I'm going to finish another X. This one goes through. So I've got this X, that X. Now I didn't do the bottom one. So I have to go down there and come out. It's a little awkward. Back in this corner. I gotta finish this bottom one. Back here. Now I'm gonna travel way over there. Okay, I've got 3 X's there. So now what I'm going to do is finish this X because I'm here and I've got to end. And now I'm getting ready to do the other series of X's. So you finish, it's all X's, and if you're going to change color, this is the base. Now I'll have to do a little green up here because it's part of the trees. Then the house is in different colors. This is all the different colors that you get to do one series of cross stitches. If you all multicolored, it's a pattern. This is part of a kit, but if you like to do your own pattern, your own design, then you choose your colors. In the stores, you can get a lot of colors. There's a variety of 500 to 1,000 colors to choose from. Now I'm going to do another cross and cut my thread. So this is my last cross. I'll go halfway. Now if I want to cut, what I'll do is lock in my thread. I'll go twice through it, keep the needle there, and then come right back through, lock my thread. Now I can cut this and it'll stay locked. I don't have my scissors now. Over here. Okay, so you just cut your thread and you've done, because you've locked in your thread. So now you can cut it, change your threads, go to another color and start another little pattern. Now that we've practiced a little bit on embroidery, I've showed you a few stitches, I would suggest that you would buy a little kit, try it out, experiment, try your stitching, how to use the thread and the needle, how to put on your hoop, and create beautiful masterpieces. Then once you've practiced, then it's endless. You can buy a shirt, do some beautiful little patterns on your shirt. If you buy a pair of jeans, today in the stores you see them, they have these little, nice beautiful little flowers on the side. Do your own. Be creative. Try this. This is beautiful. Embroidery is simple, very easy to do. Be as creative as possible. My name is Aurele de la Brosse, and keep your hands busy.
I have often said, yes, you can learn new skills from a book. However, with the Learn To series, you now have a practical, hands-on video that you can rewind, pause, and watch over and over again. Our family of programs is always growing, and I hope you'll join me in learning to knit, crochet, needlepoint, and many more crafts. Each video gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to create beautiful handmade treasures. Till next time, take care and keep your hands busy.